Well, like, so I want to start off this video here. It's not going to be a very long video, admittedly. This is only a 3 minute odd clip. Uh, but it's effectively the second in a concurrent series that the SNP have decided to presumably punt taxpayers' money into funding. In some respects, it's propaganda. It's the proverbial shit that we've all come to expect from the SNP. So I'm going to react to it. I've watched the vast majority of the video, but I never finished it. I'm kind of going against my own advice, admittedly, and I have to obviously address the elephant in the room to some degree. Going against my own advice in the sense that I really shouldn't be focusing on anything politically related. It's just a lot of things going on behind the scenes and whatnot. Personally, for me, at present. But as the expression goes, there's no rest for the wicked. And again, I want to emphasize that I'm not delusional in any shape or form in believing that my videos make any sort of impact whatsoever. However, I will say though, that I do believe if people would adopt the talking points that I that I provide, and when I say people, I don't mean necessarily the people that watch my stuff. I'm talking about the so-called opposition, even milquetoast conservatives and whatnot. I do not hear anything that's adequate, and I don't say that to be disparaging in the sense, well, deliberately disparaging, but you know, be cruel to be kind and all that shit. Something has to give, because at the end of the day, I don't particularly enjoy anymore making videos about the SNP when it comes to their tripe about independence, because it's the same nonsense all the time. But that's fundamentally the problem in many respects, because at the end of the day, their narrative goes unchallenged. There's the revisionist history. I've said all this so many times before for years, but it's just the fact that their narrative has been cemented, solidified, because nobody really takes them to task where it counts, and it's got to stop. Irrespective of whether or not you're of the belief that there's actually going to be a referendum anytime soon, that by and large is irrelevant, because at the end of the day, the chips will fall where they will fall. If the powers that be want to see the end of the union, then that will be what will happen. But my problem, fundamentally, is the fact with the SNP in particular, for a multitude of different reasons. But my issue really does, well, one of my main issues really does stem from the fact that not only is it the revisionist history, etc., etc., but it's the division that it creates in this country. You know, we're at a point now where we seem to be sort of, if you're not a unionist, you're an SNP fanboy, and vice versa. There's no dialogue. There's so many issues that are occurring, and not just in Scotland, across the UK, across the Western world, across the world even, for that fact. But in this country, the focus is consistently on the Tories, because that's what the SNP fucking do. And I'm not a Tory, and I have to preface that, because if you are an SNP supporter, SNP member, SNP sympathiser, you automatically, instantaneously believe that somebody who's not on your fucking wavelength is all of a sudden a Tory or a unionist. Not that it would make much difference if I was, but I'm not. Anyway, I've rambled for 5 minutes now, so let's get into this video, like.
I honestly can't say politely what I think of Liz Truss. I really do think that she really needs to go away and learn actually what being a statesperson is.
Inferring, of course, that Nicola Thinlips is a statesperson. All right. Nice choice of words, like. But this isn't the sort of stuff I really want to react to. I'm not going to, just to emphasise the point here, like, I'm not going to do a repeat video that I did when I responded to the Dundee equivalent to this. My main point of contention is coming up soon, but it's just this fucking nonsense that they come away with, man. And it's perplexing. It really is perplexing how they just get away with funding, recording, promoting nonsense, shite. However, starts off with a wee laugh. It's kind of funny in many respects because this whole thing's a fucking joke.
The Tory leadership contest is dismal.
We know the gay guy is really going to give us a hot take here,
Like, spectacularly so. I mean, people think that you couldn't do worse than Boris Johnson, but they're basically having a contest to see if they can. The current
hot take like it. It's funny, and I will continue in a second. I just find it severely humorous how Nicola Thinlips takes their podiums, she's interviewed, whatever it may be. She's done quite a few media tours as of late, and she says the same nonsense that her spurgy followers then go on to say after the fact. So I do wonder to myself, is it the fact that it's the unchallenged narrative that's by and large a fundamental issue in this country? Is that what gives these people the information that kind of swindles around in their head, or is it what Thinlips says? I don't know. Anyway, I'll pull this back a bit, and then I'll let it play.
You couldn't do worse than Boris Johnson, but they're basically having a contest to see if they can.
The current Tory leadership contest, you can't really call it a joke because it's so important, but on the other hand, it seems irrelevant for Scotland in many ways. We either have somebody who is ignoring Scotland or somebody who...
Now this is the part that I wanted to bring up. There's a reference after this to the EU, of course, because it's always, blurring lines. That's the whole point. It's propagandising the mindsets of the populace, the everyday average Joe and Josephine, into believing that independence and the European Union, or renewal of European Union membership, are synonymous. But this right here, we either have somebody who is ignoring Scotland or somebody who doesn't know where it is. Ignoring Scotland. So this is the first reference, if I remember correctly, because it was a while ago that I actually watched the video, went to sleep for a bit, and now I'm up again. I don't sleep very well right now. You can probably tell my voice. My point being, though, that I'm pretty sure there's another reference to Liz Truss, and the point being that Liz Truss effectively said a week or so ago that Thinlips, with her jail bullcunt, was irrelevant and to be ignored. So I just find it perplexing. It's remarkable. It fucking is truly remarkable what this party are doing to this country. They are trying to make it appear, insinuate, that the SNP, or more than Ian Blackford, Beta Blackford, and Nicola Thinlips, they are the same as the rest of the country. They are not. Let's just play into the narrative for a split second and pretend that all this political nonsense really, in the grand scheme of things, is relevant, is something that could be considered legitimate. Would it not be more a case to say that they might have issues with Blackford and Thinlips, or you know what I mean? Like, that might be why they're quote unquote ignoring Scotland, which means that they're ignoring the SNP, or to put it in more blatant terms, they're ignoring the aforementioned Thin Lips and Beta Blackford? Nah, of course not. However, I don't want to make this video too long, so let's just, I'll pull it back a wee bit again. We'll get to my main point of contention.
Ways. We either have somebody who is ignoring Scotland or somebody who doesn't know where it is.
Liz Truss ignoring the democratically elected leader of Scotland.
Yeah, well, if you're going to go down that route, like, you, to be fair, she didn't get that many votes, but come on.
The Scottish Government that's all you really need to see. Probably the best advert for Scottish independence in that they have admitted they will ignore Scotland.
No. They've admitted they will ignore Scotland, is the claim being made. That's not correct. This is an inaccuracy being presented as factual by a bellend with fucking glasses. I'm not going to disparage him. Let me just show you what I'm talking about.
There was a comment by Liz Truss, and I think we have a clip of it which we can show you. She was speaking at Hustings in Exeter last night, and this is what she said.
And I think the best thing to do with Nicola Sturgeon is ignore her. I think look, she's, I'm sorry.
It's a bit difficult when she's First Minister, though. She's got a democratically elected position, just as you would.
I'm sorry, she's an attention seeker, Seb. That's what she is. And
it's interesting, actually.
Let's nod our heads. Let's nod our heads.
It's the first time I've watched it in full because I've obviously seen the comments reported this morning.
You're supposed to be a journalist, but you've no watched it in full. However, my point being though, that this is what that reference was to, that Scotland's been ignored. Oh, they've admitted that Scotland's been ignored. Nah, they're not. That's not what's been said. That's not what's been said. They're saying that Nicola Sturgeon should be ignored. Now, as I made reference to earlier on, let's play into the narrative for just a split second and suggest that every single fucking thing that is about politics is legitimate, organic, and none of it's theatre, none of it's dogs and ponies, none of it at all. None of it's got anything to do with funding from hidden hands, none of it's got anything to do with puppetry. All of what you see, all of what appears on your TV screens, etc., it's all legitimate, right? Would it then not be possible to say, given that, what I've just said, to put it into context, would it not then be a possibility that maybe she's been ignored because not only is she fucking insufferable, which I believe she is, but she really is, an odious woman, admittedly, right? But the fact that she spent countless years, trying everything within her power to reverse the 2016 EU referendum result. Everything within her power. Now, as I say, I'm speaking within the context of politics, not being theatre, etc., etc. You could make that argument, because this is something that people on this side of the SNP, like the two twats on the fucking screen, and they are the same way that everybody from this newspaper is. The fact that they've got this absolutely hideous fucking desecration of our national flag here, but it just perplexes me. It truly does how out of touch they are, how devoid of self-awareness, how historically illiterate they appear to be, you know, because these people come from the avenue that politics is all real, everything I've just said a moment ago. With that in mind, then they should realistically be able to then take into consideration, at the bare minimum, maybe, just maybe, Westminster, the potential Tory leadership competitors, so to speak, don't want anything to do with the Tories because of, not to do with the Tories, sorry, the upcoming Westminster Prime Minister. They don't want anything to do with the SNP or Thin Lips and Blackford in particular, because of their bullshit. But no. It gets worse though. It gets fucking worse. I just wanted to preface that. The SNP do not represent Scotland. This revisionist fucking narrative, the selective history, the lies, the propaganda. Oh, it drives me mad. It really does. It's got to fucking stop. It's got to stop. And I will not rest until it does stop. Like,
advert for Scottish independence in that they have admitted they will ignore Scotland. There's no beating around the bush, which is quite nice actually, a nice change from the Tories that they're just getting straight to the point.
Exactly.
And they'll just admit, yeah, hands up, we're going to ignore Scotland.
In Liz
well,
Truss
they didn't say that though, did they?
saying that she's going to ignore Nicola Sturgeon.
I find this part perplexing. I really do. So this guy, Mr. Non-Binary, or whatever the fuck he is, makes reference to, the Tories have just said that they're going to ignore Scotland. But then...
that they're just getting straight to the point, and they'll just admit, yeah, hands up, we're going to ignore Scotland.
Alright, okay, but then the woman fucking immediately after, says, oh, Liz Truss is saying she's going to ignore Sturgeon. Which one's true then? Did Liz Truss say that Scotland needs to be ignored, or did she say that Sturgeon needs to be ignored? Let that fucking sink in.
In Liz Truss saying that she's going to ignore Nicola Sturgeon, she's ignoring the people of Scotland.
Well, she's not, though, is she?
Liz Truss, I find very difficult to actually think that she is anything other than Liz Truss at the centre of her interest. She certainly doesn't have Scotland at the centre of her interest.
Well, Liz Truss's ignorance and dismissal and disdain of Scotland.
Oh, disdain. Disdain of Scotland. You know. I have no time for Liz Truss. Nor do I have any time for Rishi Sunak. Nor do I have any time for Westminster, for that matter. But equally, if not more so, I have no time for the SNP. And by extension, by proxy, I have no time for any fucking wanker, irrespective of whether or not they believe the nonsense they say, or whether or not they're paid to say it, via these fucking propagandizing pieces. I have no time for you people. You might very well be my kin in many respects, but no, I have no time for you. At the end of the day, this is where the ignorance, as this man spoke of, comes into full fruition for what it's worth, because he speaks of ignorance and dismissal. Ignorance and dismissal. Obviously, he tries to insinuate that Liz Truss is the one that's ignorant, or etc., etc., and has disdain of Scotland. And of course, we're still running on the back of this fucking nonsense that Scotland is and the SNP are one and the same. No, but just look at what the SNP have done for years. Ever since 2014, arguably way before that, but 2014 is where you can say with 100% certainty, provided you know what you're talking about, that that they are the ones that have treated this country. And again, I'm speaking within the confines of, or the parameters of society being dictated by legitimate politics. I don't believe it is. But I'm trying to leave my bias out of the equation in that respect and play along with the narrative of the people that perpetuate political talking points. And with that being said, it's insinuated that the SNP are different to the rest. You know, they've got your best interests at heart. No, they don't. They've treated you with disdain. Absolutely treated you with disdain. You know, it fucking breaks my heart that homelessness statistics, they got released just yesterday, in fact. Suicide statistics, alcohol related death statistics, suicides and drug related statistics, all been released respectively over the course of the past few weeks. NHS is failing, crumbling, even education standards failing, attainment gap worsening, critical race theory, sustainable developments, learning for sustainability, global citizenship education, climate change makers, climate anxiety rife within our youth, poverty, impoverishment, worsening. And all you ever fucking hear from these fucking people is one of two things, but both. It's poor BAMEs, poor black people, poor Pakistanis. And if you don't hear that, what you will hear is a shift of blame, deflection to the Tories. Oh, we just get independence. Things will be different. Define it. Fucking define it. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. This country is going to shit, and they blame the Tories, they blame Westminster, when they are equally as complicit, irrespective of whether or not the political fucking system, if you want to go down that route, is legitimate or not. Because it's one of two things again. They're complicit due to their ignorance or their pay packet, or their puppets. But there ain't no third option. There isn't a third option that would suggest that they're doing things with the best intentions in mind. No, they're not. They're fucking lying.
Scotland and Nicola Sturgeon is frankly, well, it's almost laughable, but it's also
What's laughable, Bob Hag, is the fact that I've already played the quote. It was about Scotland. It was about Sturgeon, sorry. It wasn't about Scotland. But this is what they do.
Frightening.
Rishi Sunak, I don't think he has any particular interest in Scotland either.
Got the richest man in Parliament telling us he's going to help us with the cost of living crisis. Something tells me that's...
The cost of living crisis that was exacerbated by a fabricated pandemic that was brought about by the United Nations Decade of Action, which of course came off the back of the Sustainable Development Goals of 2015, which Nicola Sturgeon signed us up to. But you don't know that, do you? Because you're too busy fucking... Whatever. Sorry.
It's probably not very true.
Initially I was actually against Scotland becoming independent because I thought that Scotland would be taken out of the European Union.
Is that right? Aye. Despite the fact that the SNPs said in their own white paper that we had every intention of trying to rejoin it. So it was acknowledged that that was a possibility. And of course in 2013 as well, Nicola Sturgeon herself, I've got the video on my fucking channel, but no, we don't want to talk about that, do we? We don't want to talk about any of the fucking things that matter, do we? But Nicola Thin Lips back in the day with a really shit haircut back then. Admittedly, it's getting worse over time, but I'm not here to poke fun at people's appearances, even though this woman here does look like a bit of a... I'll say no more. Redacted. But Sturgeon herself, 2013, admitted that there was more of a chance of us being taken out of the European... or our membership, our potential membership within the European Union was more jeopardised by... staying part of the UK because of the growing Euroscepticism. But this is something you fucking uneducated people don't seem to fathom. Because you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know. You fucking don't. None of you do. Oh, well, I like to stay part of the UK because, like I thought that, Scotland would be taken out of the... Oh, well, that's funny. It's funny that you seem to be able to reiterate Thin Lips' revisionist history, but you can't seem to grasp the concept of literal history. Isn't that remarkable? Because this is how propaganda works in this fucking country, man. It's fucking... Oh, it's grinding me down, like...
And then Brexit happened.
Oh, Brexit happened. What about it? What about it? What about it? But this is the insinuation. This is the insinuation. And Brexit happens, so we need independence because we need to reverse Brexit, you know, aka blurring the lines, making them synonymous.
I was disappointed by Brexit, and
well, you know, you're all crying and whining about democracy, but you know, Brexit was effectively democracy, was it not? What I was disappointed by was Nicola Dunlop's driving about in her Stop Brexit bus during the 2019 election campaign. But hey, we won't talk about that, will we? Nah, because we need to forget that period of history. Because in order to acknowledge that period of history, that would by extension mean that we would be admitting that you're hypocritical fucking people. All of you, irrespective of whether or not you're paid actors or not. I don't care anymore, because this propaganda is the fucking problem. The divisive propagandizing of our youth, our people in general. And for what? So thin lips can prance about the place at taxpayers' expense to fucking act all braggadocious.
believe as an independent Scotland that's open to us.
Oh, wait. I was disappointed by Brexit.
I was disappointed by Brexit, and I believe as an independent Scotland that's open to us.
What's open to us? We're reversing Brexit. Blurring the lines.
And I believe that's the right way for a prosperous Scotland.
Oh, prosperous Scotland, you know what? Like, it's just the most effeminate fucking shit. It really is. It really is. Agenda 2030, COVID restrictions, Operation Lockstep, Event 201. Need I go on? Critical race theory, mandatory LGBT emphasis on the T, compulsory education, enshrined via law. Global citizenship education. I could go on, but I'm fucking done. I'm done. Fuck these fucking people. Honestly, wake up. Wake the fuck up.